You became the limiting factor. When I got started, I did everything and I was the reason that everything was growing. But then all of a sudden it shifted and I became the bottleneck in everything. But I didn't realize that at first. Is that what you're talking about? Or was there other things? Welcome back to another episode of My Dental Playbook. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. Along with my friend, Dr. Blake Hamblin, we are capturing how he's growing his practice. He's more than doubled his collections over the last 12 months. And we're sharing every detail along the way. Today, we're going to bring on a special guest, Dr. Shane. He is going to break down how he relentlessly focuses on one thing to help his practice grow. His practice is absolutely exploding. They did over $3 million last year, and they're just going to continue to grow in the positive direction with 2 doctors and an amazing team. And he was gracious enough to share his scorecards with us of what his team and leadership are using. So those are right down below. This is a really good episode. Dr. Blake gets deep into the weeds of the things he's focused on and the things he's focusing on for his next step of the practice, as well as Dr. Shane. So you're going to get a special treat today by 2 powerhouse dentists. Stay tuned for this one. All right, welcome back to another episode today. And we're going to be talking about something that I think applies to every single business owner, every single dentist that owns their own practice. We're going to be talking about the limiting factor and how you attack that. Dr. Blake loves this topic. We were texting back and forth about it, about Elon Musk. And what he does in his businesses is he goes into any business. When he bought Twitter, he did it. When he bought Tesla, he did it. When he started SpaceX and he worked through that, he did the same thing. He went in and he said, what is the number one thing that's slowing us down from getting to where we want to go? And then he would spend all of his time on that one thing. And I think as entrepreneurs, I can speak for myself, a lot of times we get in and we focus on all the things and we pull all the levers, like Willy Wonka at Chocolate Factory, where they're pulling all the levers and everything's flying. And it feels good because you're getting, it's activity. But whether you grow or you shrink, you don't actually know if you're fixing things because you have second order of magnitude, reactions to all the levers that you're pulling. And so you end up not growing or growing and you're not really sure why. And you get into these really weird spots. But when you're focusing on one thing, just one thing, and you just go all in on that one thing that you think is the limiting factor, pretty quickly within like a week or two, this is it. We need to keep doing it. And then you create, Dr. Blake loves this one too, new problems. Gary, just create a new problem for me. Break my hygiene schedule. He tells me that all the time. Just break my hygiene schedule and then we'll solve it from there. So we'll start with you, Dr. Shane. Thank you so much for coming on, first of all. And I had a great time with you on the last podcast that we did. And your practice is absolutely crushing it. And as we worked through it, I was like, dude, I got to get you on with Dr. Blake and get some synergy going here. But I would love to start with you on how do you think through this limiting factor and how has that impacted your practice?
Well, I think first of all is just recognizing that the biggest limiting factor that you have in your practice is most likely the dentist or the owner. Like we're the ones kind of creating, talking about creating problems. We're usually the one creating problem or getting in the way of something. So, for me, I didn't realize that starting out, I probably practiced for close to a year before I just had all these struggles. And it was just like, this is here. I want to do this. I want to do that, and all these fancy things clinically. And then I want this team. And what I realized that the limiting factor was myself. Like, there's different roads you can go down when you talk about limiting factors in your practice. It could be leadership, it could be clinical, all of those things. So for me, that's kind of, once I realized like I am the problem, like, hey, hi, it's me.
So what do you mean? What do you mean by that you became the limiting factor? Because I know for me in business, when I got started, I did everything and I was the reason that everything was growing. But then all of a sudden it shifted and I became the bottleneck in everything. But I didn't realize that at first. Is that what you're talking about? Or was there other things that you're...
No, you nailed it. That's pretty much it, is because I tried to do all the dentistry. I was doing all the procedures and also trying to grow my skill set and do these harder things. And so that was limiting us as far as like production wise, right? But also too, just like leadership wise too, like I was trying to start so many things. Like, let's build a clear aligner program. Let's build an implant program. Let's market this, market that. And our schedule didn't have room for, for people to even come in. And so that you're exactly right. Like we grew and we were doing great. But for me to, like you said, to get to the level that I'm at now, like I was the fixer for everything and I did everything. So it required me kind of going all in and building people around me. Once I figured that out, how to do that. And that was, we could have a whole podcast on how to do that. But that created more problems. It was like, well, how do you hold accountability? So then you evolve in your leadership, even more. How do you have checkpoints and these, things like that? And then, dentists are really good about taking C, like I mentioned, and advancing their clinical skill set and coming back all jacked up. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to get in sleep, all these things. And you just never gain traction because, again, you're the problem. You get so excited and you just spit it out to everyone and nothing ever takes off because they're all confused, right? And you're talking to patients about it. And it's like, they're kind of confused. And so that's for me, and that's good. I guess clarity is the biggest thing there, is understanding that I was the problem. I need to stop being, if I wanted to get to the next level in my practice, I needed to stop being the fixer. That's, different components. That's either your other dentists around me, or I have to give up some procedures that I'm doing so I can focus on the one thing. For me, that's like implant dentistry. That's my thing. I couldn't keep doing all the other stuff and taking care of everyone. So I have a unique skill set that can service a certain population. And, if I say no to them, what am I doing for other people? So
this is really good stuff. That's really good. I also like the idea, and you kind of alluded to it, is like, so you have to say no to say yes a lot of times, right? Because you can't say yes to everything. And that's super hard to figure out as an entrepreneur, as a dentist, or just running a business in general. And then I really like the idea of, and you alluded to this, is like, there's certain things the owner doctor, you're the only one that can do them in your practice. There's certain things in my business, like I get online and argue with a dentist on Facebook. No one else can do that in my company. Like no one else is willing to go on there and have those tough conversations and go back and forth. And so I have to do it. And there's a lot of risk involved with it, right? Because it could go way south, and there's those kind of things. So I love those frameworks and the way that you broke that down. Dr. Blake, so I could tell your wheels returning on this.
Well, for sure. And I will say Shane has always been the most humble man in the room. And so my answer will not be as humble as his, but I thought you laid that out really clearly. And man, it's so true. Like I've been in the same position, and I often can find myself in that position even to this day. And so it's a refining process for sure. But I think when I think about this, the quote I heard not too long ago was intensity as a strategy. And that is the strategy, right? And so what it took for me to go from stuck in my head, I was growing on paper, and to everyone else, I was achieving all the things that people would want to achieve, but I knew there was so much left in the tank. And I knew the limiting factor for me was marketing. I had to find somebody that could drive patients into the practice. And I was doing everything with intensity. I wasn't focused on one thing with intensity, right?
Which is not possible, right?
Right.
That's like working out at 100% all day is not possible. You can't be intense with everything.
Yeah. And so like Shane and I we did the 3D mastermind with T-Bone and Sully, and like he can probably reflect back to that and see my confusion and where I wanted to be. Like I would say things, but it wouldn't make sense because I was trying to do everything. And then it took me walking through that process, trying to do all of that stuff to find, okay, I've got to laser focus on marketing, find someone that can help me do it, and then double down on it. And that's what I found with the people that we're working with in our mastermind and that DM me or whatever. The people that are willing to just burn the boats, it works. You know what I mean? Like it's wild. Like we've kind of been like double clicking on Google reviews again. And I literally in Huddle the other day, I was like, how many people asked for a Google review? Nobody raised their hand. That day we got 8. And it's like what you focus on improves, right? But it has to be radical focus.
Yeah, one thing on that note too is like when you get hyper focused like that, it aligns everybody. And a lot of times as leaders, I'll speak for myself, is like I'm like, I already told them 4 times that Google reviews are super important. Yeah, but you also said the phones are super important and billing super important and checkouts are super important. You said everything's super important at some point. So they're only going to focus on the thing that you just said was super important, because you can only be intense about one thing at a time. And so what I find myself doing is just like, okay, how can I create clarity for my team through just hyper focusing on this one thing over just, and then sometimes you have to click back. So we have to go back and say, hey, we need more Google reviews. Hey, remember how we used to review calls all the time? We got away from that. Now we're getting back to it. Let's do it again. And we all know this, your team changes, right? Like new people came in and they don't know that you're a psycho about Google reviews, or they don't know that you're crazy about front desk scheduling or the way you want patients scheduled. So you have to go back and not just train, because training's one thing, that's the knowledge. But what about the passion or the heart or the vision behind it? That has to also be taught. And let's be frank, Dr. Blake, like no one in your team is going to go in full force like you are. Someone has to do that again. So I really like that. Is there any, Dr. Shane, we'll go to you. Is there like, as you started to work through this, was there specific things that you were like, oh, okay, when I got laser focused on this is what helped me? Dr. Blake said for him, it was marketing. What about for you?
I think for me, it was more clinical, honestly. Like I have two associates here myself. I still had a lot of stuff on my schedule that I was afraid to say no to. And like we talked about, I had the skill set to do, sedation and implants and wisdom teeth and all this stuff. So I finally took the leap and, was more intentional with blocks on my schedule on my skill set. And my production last year went up like, I don't know, 45 grand a month. And just by utilizing what I could do, how I could service people and what I could offer, to our community was just using my skill set. And I wasn't, because I was just letting stuff, get on there because I felt, I love our patients and I love helping people. And it is hard to say no, but sometimes you got to.
So just so I understand this, I want to call this out. So you have all these patients coming in, you have 3 doctors, including yourself, and you have some easier treatment coming in that your other associates could totally do. And then you had other treatment that maybe only you could do on your team. Like it was kind of like, this is your thing. And you had so many of the easier treatments coming through that you had to say no to some of the bigger treatments, or it was causing just overload. And so you had to say no to the smaller treatment, set up your team, and then that allowed you to open up. And now everybody's winning, right? Your associates are happy.
Yeah,
because that right?
They're more productive now because they're doing the stuff that was in their skill set that I was taking from them. So it was funny how it kind of balanced out. I was just so afraid to kind of give that up because I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what's going to keep me busy? And I think Blake and I had a conversation. I called him, I don't know, sometime last year, and I felt stuck. I was like, I don't know which way I want to go because I feel like I am trying to do everything. Like, do I need to focus on new patients and marketing? Because we were working, with you guys and having good success there. I'm also trying to basically grow my implant practice as well too. And I was being pulled in several directions. And it was like, Blake gave me some good advice. He was like, you got to focus on something. So we did. We kind of took a breather from the implant stuff for a while to add capacity to our hygiene. We added more to that, got new patients. It was crazy how that just like with marketing filled up. And, so then there was more treatment for the associates to do. And then we got back into implant stuff. And that's kind of how it worked out. So it helps to just, realize that like, hey, you can't do everything at one time. You got to focus on something, even it doesn't mean it's forever. Right? Like you can go hard at it for, a quarter or whatever you need to get there and then transition to the next thing, create new problems.
How did you, I think a lot of I know for me, I have always struggled with like saying no, because I don't like, it's like, you might not get business tomorrow. Right. So it's like hard to tell people no. But one of the things that's worked well for me is like training my team to, the answer is always yes, but right. So someone's like, well, they asked for 1 billion new patients. I'm like, and you told them no? Well, yeah, we can't get 1 billion. I'm like, yeah, that was Dr. Blake. I'm like, we can get 1 billion new patients. It's just, you're going to need to give me a really good big marketing budget. And we're going to have to open up locations in India and China. And so like, we can do it. It's just, do you have hundreds of millions of dollars for infrastructure? And so it's like training my team to like think through how to say yes to things. And then we call it the yes, but framework. So we do it all the time. Yes, but, and I have to constantly remind the team. Was there anything that you had, Dr. Shane, with this that helped you get what you wanted without hurting the patient's feelings, without hurting the team's feelings, and still get the outcome that you wanted?
Yeah, I mean that was, it's not just saying no to the patients, it's kind of I'm saying no to the team too. Like why are you, it doesn't make sense. You're a dentist. Why aren't you doing this? Like that's not fair
Yeah,
to the patient,
that's so
right?
good.
And again, it's the question I always ask them, even in a lot of coaching moments I have, I'm like, if they want to do something, I'm like, okay, if you say yes to this, what are you saying no to? Right. So for me, that's what I had to kind of coach them on that. Like, if I say yes to this, I'm having to say no to all these other things that I can do. And I'm the only person here that can do that. It's not that I'm beneath it. I'm not too proud, but this is where we need to go. So I had to sit down with the team and kind of coach them on, like, this is how we approach these things now. Like, this is no longer a service. Like, Dr. Wingler chose these associates, handpicked them. He's trained with them for years. They're going to take great care of you. This is what they do all day long. That type of thing. So it took some time, right, to get the team to wrap their head around that. But now it's like, it's just pretty much normal for us at this point.
I think from the other side too, a quote that's coming to mind is the person with the least amount of need always wins. And the beauty of this is, like, when you're able to step away and say, I'm not doing fillings anymore, or I'm not doing single crowns anymore, you literally don't need that treatment. Like, if the patient wants to go somewhere else, they can go somewhere else, and you're okay with that. And that flows through on so many different levels, because the patient feels it, but also your team and your associate feels that, right? And so now your associate believes, like, they believe that when you go do that exam and they haven't been doing all the exams that they want to do, they know, oh, well, Dr. Shane's going to put that crown on my schedule, right? And they're bought in. They're fired up about that, because you removed the amount of need that you had to have control.
Yeah, that's really good. The opposite is true too, right? It's like, stink, I gotta have this treatment or else I'm not going to be able to pay the phone bill. You know what I mean? It's like, people can feel that desperation as well. And your team feels that as well.
Yeah. And two things I wrote down while we were talking, when you're trying to figure out, what do I focus my intention on, right? I think it's number one, and Shane hit on it, is like being really clear on what you want to create. I think a lot of us, and we've talked about this, we want to create whatever Facebook tells us, or we want to create whatever the successful guy in the city next door has created. And we don't want to create our own version of success, right? And so I think Shane going through that, I went through that. There's so many other people that we know that have walked through those same steps of, we want to be everything to everybody, and then we realize we can't. And that's okay. And then I think that's where the growth comes. But then you have to decide, how do I get there, right? For me, it was marketing. For my buddy in Florida, it's literally, how many practices can he open, right? It's like, how quickly can I open up another practice, because there's so much need, right? And so it's just like figuring out, what do I want to create? Do I want to be a clinical dentist? Do I want to be a dentist that leads and builds and grows organizations and people? And you decide that, and then you run after it.
Yeah, I love that. And this goes back to, there's certain things only you, the owner doctor, can do, and direction is one of them. And so you can't be intense without a direction, right? It's like, go work out and do it the best of your ability, but I've never worked out before. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm just picking up weights and stuff. But it's like, no, I want to open up multiple practices, or I want this practice to be as big as possible, or I want to hit $3 or $4 million a year in collections. Like, that direction dictates everything else that you do. And then from there, it's really easy to figure out your limiting factor at that point. Is that right, Dr. Shane? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think one thing that Blake that just kind of came to my mind when he was talking about, you don't need that crown, or you don't need this. A lot of dentists that are going to have an associate or grow, like, if you want to grow an organization, you've got, Blake and I live in an abundance mindset. And I think a lot of dentists live in a scarcity mindset. Like, they have to do that crown because that patient absolutely has to see me. And I need to take care of them. And if they don't, they're going to leave, like you mentioned, and we're going to lose patients. And you start spiraling them this rabbit hole. And it's just simply not true. Like, I've had patients I've seen for 3 years that we have finally kind of transitioned on, and they're totally fine, because they know that at the end of the day, like, you're still there. It's still your practice, and you can still take care of them. And if they want to wait for whatever reason, 4 months or whatever until you have availability, great, fine. I'm cool with that. But again, it's just the mindset. Like for a dentist to be successful in that situation, you got to have that abundance mindset and not be afraid to kind of take that leap.
Yeah. Some of my favorite days are when we're scheduled under goal and I literally walk in, I'm like, watch us work, baby.
So would you guys mind sharing what your like one focus is right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. For me, it's still just getting to capacity. For me to be able to truly reach the goal that I have for what my life looks like as a clinical and mentor type of dentist, we just need more patients so I can hire more providers. And we're getting there. But that's what I'm radically focused on. And I think you get the brunt end of that, right? Like I call you more than I talk to my wife.
There's not 1 month that doesn't go by that Dr. Blake's like, yeah, we need 100, we need this many. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll recalibrate, we'll get there. And next week he's like, actually, we need this many. I'm like, wait, we didn't even got to the last many yet. But it's good. It's a good problem to have. And I prefer that over let's shrink. So do you have like a magic number that's like, hey, if I get to this, then that solves that problem and then now allows me to create other problems? Or is it kind of like, just because I know you, I want to present this other framework because I think this is might be where people get stuck. You're like, okay, well, if we get to 120 new patients, that's going to allow me to create more problems. And then along the way, stuff breaks. Like you're like, stinks, so-and-so quit, or this happened, or this, just all these things break. And that's real life, right? And then we kind of go off and go fix those things. But you're really good at coming back and going, okay, now let's get back on the horse and let's keep going. How do you work through that?
Yes. So we're working through that right now. We've had some changes happen on our team that's left us a little bit short-staffed, and we're making it through. The beautiful thing is that the people that have bought into the culture are in, right? And so they know that, okay, this is just a season that we're wading through the waters, and they know that it's going to be beautiful on the other side. But as far as what is our goal, right? Like what's the problem we're trying to solve? It's not busyness. Like I don't want people to think we want 120, we want 200 new patients so that we can be busy. It's a capacity thing. Every day our plane takes off and we're half full and we're still burning all the jet fuel and we're still doing all the things that it takes to fly a plane. And I just want the plane to be full when we take off, right? And so it's not going to change how we do it, but we just quite literally have to have more people walking through the doors to be able to get to that point. And so it's not how many people can we see in one day. It's how many active patients can we add over the next quarter and then the next quarter.
Because you're solving two problems. You're solving like, what's the max number of new people can we see this month? Because that solves one problem. But then also you're really good at, oh, this is going to be great in 6 months when all these people come back, right?
Well, net new patients is really what I care about. Like I know like this month we've got 24 people are going inactive. And that's something that we work really hard on. Like we send 2 phone calls out, voicemail drops out every month to those people. And we usually recover about half of them. And so if we can not lose 24 people and instead only lose, 12, 14 people, well, that makes a huge difference over the long term, especially when you're adding 100, 150 new patients a month.
That's great.
So retention's huge.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes it so easy to get super clear. We go off on these side missions because we have to, right? The game doesn't let you go forward without the side missions, but we complete the side missions. We come back. This is our focus. We're building this machine that's having new patients come in as well as patients coming back. And what that allows us to keep stacking and keep growing. How about you, Dr. Shane? What is the thing that you're just like hyper focused on right now?
For me, it's been a change in leadership style. So it's hard to like put a metric on it necessarily. Like, what does that look like in 3 months or 6 months or a year? I think, like I alluded to, is that we've grown just like huge year after year after year. And now I felt like at the end of the year last year, we had our best year yet. And it just felt like crazy. It just felt like a ton of chaos, right? So I had to do some kind of inner reflection and kind of realize that things had kind of gotten a little bit out of whack, a little bit lackadaisical and some things. Like mentioned, you asked who asked for a Google review today, and nobody raises their hand. And it's like, guys, what the heck, Yeah, it's like, what? So for me, it's been leadership. So For what that's looked like for me is we already do like team meetings once a month. I do department meetings once a month with each department as well too. Now I've taken it a step further to where I've developed leads basically in kind of each department in our practice. And they each have like 4 to 5 things on a KPI scorecard that they report to me. We have a meeting for an hour and a half every Monday morning. First thing, they go through, report all their KPIs, what was on track, what's off track. We usually lead with everyone having a to do for the week, like a weekly goal or 14 days max that they need to check off. They report on that, like, how's that going? Are you on track? Are you struggling? And it's offloaded a ton from my shoulders to kind of work with these people, coach them on it, what that looks like. And it's been hard. And it's been super uncomfortable for me too, because I'm used to everyone coming to me to fix everything and do everything. And I just got to a point where I just can't do that anymore if we want to continue to grow. So for me, that's been leadership. We also have a quarterly meeting once a quarter to like a half day that we plan. We try to do that off site with no distractions. Lay out like our marketing plan, or what are some
who all goes to that? Is it you and a couple of your leaders in your?
Yeah, it's all the leads. So I have like an admin lead. I have a treatment coordinator lead. I have a hygiene lead and an assistant lead. So they all go to that as well too. My hygiene lead and my treatment coordinator also do a lot of all of our social media and stuff. So they kind of lay out some things on what we want to try to do, giveaways and stuff like that. Just kind of paint the picture instead of like, I felt like last year we were just like chasing tails, like, holy crap, like it's, white teeth month or whatever these Hallmark months are, holidays and stuff, right? And it's like, well, we're scrambling trying to plan for this or whatever and stay up to date. So now it's like more intentional that, but also too just like more on an operational level, like we're having to get back to the basics really and just hold people accountable. So now I'm having these conversations every Monday morning on like accountability and culture. Like one of the KPIs for someone's like, what happened last week with culture, right? Is it good? Do I need to be involved? You guys got it. So that's been my focus. I've been all in on that, really doing daily check-ins as much as I can with each of the leads. How's it going with your scorecards? That type of stuff, but not fixing things. That's the biggest thing. It's like, I have to let them either struggle through it or fail and then come to me with it. And then we can then I can step in and help. But it's basically like,
Do you do EMPS or pulse scores?
No, I don't. Oh.
Those are, so I went through this, like the exact same thing. Like everything you just said, I literally went through all of that. And beginning at the superhero syndrome, where you answered everybody's questions and you actually get dopamine hits from that. Most business owners don't realize that. Like it makes you feel really good that you always have the answer, but it begins to burn you out. Cause it's like, dude, like you don't know where to take out the trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like just like everything's coming to me. And so eventually you have to turn that off and say, no, I'm not going to solve those problems. And that's what you did, which is awesome. But it's hard because you're not getting the dopamine hit anymore. And so I really struggled with like, how do I measure culture? Cause like culture is like this fuzzy thing and it's kind of like, woo woo a little bit. And I'm more analytical. Like I don't care about those kind of things. So I'm like, how do I measure that? And there was 2 things that we started tracking. One was NPS is Net Promoter Score. It's really good for employees. But then there's an ENPS and it's blind, meaning you don't know who says what. And they can put their name to it if they want, but we don't require it. And we do it twice every year. And we go, hey, we go through every one of them. You can say it's kind of like an anonymous Dropbox and you get a score. And it's really good. Like now, if you don't have good people in the company, which you'll figure out really quickly, like we've had issues with like wrong people and wrong seats type stuff culturally. And it was like, they said some brutal stuff. And it was like, okay, like I get it, but maybe you're not the right fit. You know what I mean? So, but it really does, you get a score and you can work on it. And sometimes you're working on it by removing people. And sometimes you're working on it by giving other people control. And then the other thing we do a weekly pulse check. We do this more because we're virtual. You guys aren't virtual, but like, I want to know how everybody's doing. So every week they tell us on the end of the week on a scale of 1 to 5, how are you doing personally and professionally? Just rate it. There's no anything attached to it. But if someone's mom dies Like, I want to know that. And we send them cards and flowers and like, hey, we're praying for you, you know, thinking about you. If someone's doing wonderful because they bought a new house, I want to celebrate with them. Like, hey, great job. So that's easier to do when you're in person too.
Yeah, I guess hearing you talk about that, that's very interesting. I really like that idea. So I'm going to look into that for sure. I guess like, you know, how I know it's working or success or what that kind of looks like is just when their scorecards or KPIs each Monday morning keep getting better and better and better. And then we're kind of like, for me, I guess it's almost like emotional in a way, or like it's days are better, better and better, less escalations, more coaching time for me in moments instead of just like putting out fires all the time.
And it's better for your team too, because they know if they're winning or losing before they come talk to you, right?
It's amazing to the people that you give them that responsibility, coach them on it. And like we have a few that are just like catching fire. And like, I'm super impressed. So, and we've only been doing that, you know, for a couple months. So you find out real quick, you know, who's kind of ride or die and who's going to step up. So I'm excited for it.
Well, giving them a goal is huge. Like we've talked about this before, but they have to understand what a win is. And I think a lot of times we are so scatterbrained that our teams also become scatterbrained. And so they don't know what does Dr. Shane want me to focus on? And then when they have these KPIs, they can know. And when problems hit their desk, they can know that's not that important. I know that seems like a problem to you.
Prioritizing.
But it's not a huge problem to the practice, and which reduces your drag, right? Like there's less.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. I've seen it so many times where the doctor comes in and out loud says, I hate XYZ insurance in front of the whole team. I hate it. And so the front desk hears that and goes, oh, okay. And they start screening those patients out on the phone. No one told them to screen them out. The doctor just doesn't like the reimbursement on, you know, one procedure from them. And so the team starts blocking patients out, and there's no incentive for the front desk, either on a conversion standpoint or the number of new patients. So for them, they're actually lowering their workload by screening those patients out as well. So in their head, they're like, I'm helping doc and I'm lowering my workload. Yay. But you just screened out 15 new patients for the month.
Yeah.
And the doctor doesn't even know what happened by the time they see it. So it just creates, if you can get the front desk to be like, no. Your job's to schedule at this rate, and we have to see this many new patients. You're never going to have that problem, even if you say you hate XYZ insurance.
Yeah. Dr. Shane, would you be willing to share those KPIs with us? I think that'd be an awesome resource to be able to share.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
I would love them
I want
selfishly, but I think we could share them with the group
as well. Or the scorecards too, right? You're talking about the scorecards, yeah?
Yeah, I think what we're working towards is like everyone gets a number. So that's like even people that aren't leads is we're trying to get everyone to a number because, like you said, that motivates people if they kind of know what they're working towards. But yeah, I definitely could share those.
That'd be awesome.
That's awesome. Well, you guys are absolute powerhouses, and a lot of that has to do with you guys just being like honest and open, like, hey, this is where I'm at. But you figured out how to tackle these one things, create a better world for yourself and a better world for your team, better world for your patients. And anybody who's listening to this, I know this is helping them hearing this from you guys. So I learned a ton from it as well. So thank you so much, guys, for diving into this today.
Absolutely.